Hello and welcome to this video. My name is Kirill Novik and I'm going to talk a little about the concept of self-education. This is a very important topic to me and I believe to the most of you too. In this video I will examine such questions as why do we need education and knowledge? What is self-education and what to start with? I also need to mention that all the information here is going to be based on my personal opinion with some quotes from professional philosophers. And one more thing, any of your comments on this video are going to be highly appreciated, for I want to expand my ideas further. Let us begin. Why do people need knowledge? Surely, many people would find different answers to this question. Some people may say because their studies are interesting. Others may say that they like it because they feel better control over their lives. Third group of people may say that it brings more value to their life, and so on. Aristotle, in his Metaphysics, assumed that one has an innate passion for knowledge that is natural. The passion is natural, and that we value knowledge for its own sake, apart from its utility. By the word knowledge, Aristotle, as well as Plato, meant the knowledge that satisfies our need for happiness. Probably the best example of such a passion for knowledge is seen in philosophers of scholasticism and Renaissance. One of them was Ralph Waldo Emerson. You should have heard of him because this person is a very good example of a self-educator. We are now talking about knowledge without using a good definition of it. However, every one of you sees something behind this word. It, as well as many other concepts in philosophy, is not easily defined. However, Plato, and I rather agree with him, said that knowledge is a justified true belief. Let us not go deeper in this question, but examine the other one. Is knowledge a tool to achieve a certain goals or a goal itself? Everything in our daily life that we do according to some past experience, some knowledge we acquired, and through our reasoning. But remember, what was the opinion of ancient philosophers? They said that knowledge is that we crave knowledge because it brings happiness. Because it satisfies the need for happiness. But what is happiness? This is probably one of the hardest things to define. Let me define it in a simple way. Can anyone of you disagree that love fits in that category? I mean real love, not the superficial one, the one you feel, not the imitation. No, you cannot disagree. How about hatred? Can anybody agree that hatred brings happiness? Certainly not. Our common sense and society seem to agree on these two. Therefore, let us now conclude that the knowledge is worthless and can be dangerous if our attitude is directed away from happiness. You may ask, why then people step away from common sense and sometimes pursue something different from happiness, or they define happiness something different as love? For non-believers in God and the free will, it is hard to accept, but the reason lies behind our free will that is abused by ourselves, and flaws to our very human nature. I strongly believe that knowledge is a tool to achieve happiness to ourselves, and through ourselves to others. Many of you get the feeling that today our society dictates that faith is somewhat undesirable in our world. and that the scientific method and math is the only truth there is in our world. If we consider the scientific method as the truth, then the philosophy that is the base of it is also true. But at the base of the scientific method lies not only the philosophy, but the belief that is apart from it, belief that the world has recurring patterns that could be generalized. Scientific knowledge has its limitations. For example, had we really known A, then we could have deducted it logically that A is followed by B. However, this is not the case. We rather execute experiments than use logic. For those of you who read Parmenides, you may know that he believed that everything has its cause. Thomas Aquinas, a great Catholic theologian, his turn was convinced that reason and faith are two ways of knowing. Now, this may sound funny. Louis Pasteur, after demonstrating of the flask with the boiled broth as a proof for non-existence of the spontaneous generation, had that very flask full of bacteria after just 2 hours. Fortunately, it was a man of an extraordinary intelligence. He created an autoclave to prove it again. What started as a belief of non-existence of the spontaneous generation ended up being knowledge. Lastly, let us mention one of the prominent scientists and philosophers of today, Dr. Richard Dawkins, who considers himself as being an atheist. The atheism, in its turn, is a belief that there is no God. But before this, there is another belief that the world is materialistic, and there is no spirit, and for some people there is no free will either. When I think about faith and knowledge, I see a paradox. Knowledge follows faith, but faith itself is knowledge. I will leave this question for you to think about. Now, let us now see how scholars differentiate between different types of knowledge. To my mind, John Dewey created one of the best references for self-education. Many of you have heard of the Dewey Decimal System, which is used by many libraries. I think that it is a very comprehensive system, which is very useful to navigate in the categories of knowledge. To my mind, a person who wants to be a scholar needs to have the encyclopedic knowledge of every category of these three. This encyclopedic knowledge can be found in some modern guides and encyclopedias. It is like a map. Before planning a long-distance trip, you need a map. Encyclopedias are maps, the very well elaborated maps. Personally, I think it is quite amazing that such elaborated things are so easy to get today. I strongly believe that a self-educator needs to start with philosophy and written language. We need to learn how to think before we can do something with our thinking. And then we need to convey what we think so that other people understand us. How many people today have a comprehensive opinion and knowledge about philosophy? How many of us today can convey thoughts clearly? I think I'm not the only one who needs to brush up on these things. Again, science and math are the best tools which help us to understand the world around us. I am amazed how science strides today, revealing enormous amounts of astonishing facts about the world. These disciplines, in my opinion, should be also aimed by a self-educator at the beginning of his or her path. The path of a scholar is very long, I would say never-ending. Self-educator should never be stagnant, but always in motion. He always should have a plan of where to go next. For this purpose, he or she needs to develop a curriculum. I believe that the fruit of this noble doing is one of the sweetest things in the world. I really hope that those of you who have gone through this path agree with me. Let me conclude this video saying something like, with the great power comes the great responsibility. I think that knowledge itself does not make us automatically good people, but I believe that people can use their knowledge for the greater good. This is what I encourage myself and all of you to do with it. For what do you benefit if you gain the whole world but lose your own soul? This is the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching it. I really want to listen all the criticism, all the comments on this video, and I wish you all the wonderful day.